Good evening. Welcome to the Herndon Town Council public session, the first one of the year, January 15th, 2019.
Good evening, everyone. I'll call the meeting to order. I'm getting the evil eye from Margie because I don't have my iPad, so I didn't see it go 7 o'clock like it does, so my apologies. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. As the town clerk said, this is our first public hearing of the new term, of a new year. I'm looking forward to a fresh start. We've got lots to do, and I'm glad there are so many people here to be with us this evening. I want to welcome back my colleagues who served in the previous term, and welcome Mr. DeCall and Mr. Del Aguila. Looking forward to serving with you, and wish you all the best. Thank you. At last Tuesday's work session, I am pleased to announce that we elected Sheila Olam as the vice mayor. The tradition in the town is always that the highest vote getter becomes our vice mayor, and I'm excited. It's official now, Sheila. I've got name tags, so there's no turning back now, so congratulations. Thank you. All right. And before we get started, Councilmember Jen Baker is out of town on business and will not be here this evening, unfortunately. We do have one set of minutes on our agenda this week. Is there a motion to approve the December 11th public hearing minutes?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion made by, I believe, Mr. McKenna, seconded by Ms. Friedrichs. Discussion on the motion. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed? So that motion carries unanimously. And moving right along, we have several presentations this evening. Don't worry, we're not expecting there to be a rumble. We are recognizing a retiring police officer, if you're wondering what's going on back there. So it's all good, but we are very safe here this evening. But first off, we have a certificate of appreciation to recognize Dale Frock from the Department of Public Works on the occasion of his retirement. And if you're wondering who Dale is, he's the very happy guy right down here in the front row. I would like to recognize Tammy Chastain to come forward. She's our Deputy Director of Public Works, who will congratulate him and make some remarks. And then, of course, I will invite others to speak if they would like. Good evening.
Good evening. Yeah, we're here to celebrate Dale. He's been here a little over.
I don't think the mic is on.
Oh, the mic isn't. You know, I have problems with the mic, right?
Uh-oh.
Is that better?
Is that working now? Okay, I'm getting thumbs up. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, you got it. So he's been here a little over 7 years, but he has made an impact in the refuse and recycling division and the shop as a whole. Having lived here in the town, he has a great understanding of the town. He learned the collection routes and the refuse and recycling regulations very quickly. He was one of the first ones to raise his hand and implement the automated truck route into our collection routes. Shortly after I arrived, he actually offered me a route to show me how the automated truck works, the routes that they run, the challenges that they face as well. He really cares about this town, his coworkers, and the citizens always have compliments about Dale. They appreciate his personal touch that he brings to the collection routes. And we're really happy to see Dale start a new chapter in his life, and I hope he and his wife, Betsy, enjoy the years of relaxation that await them. So.
Okay, congratulations. He needs a round of applause. Let's go. Are there any comments from the council? I'm sure Sheila's got something. Vice Mayor, you want to go last, or you want to go first?
Go last.
Okay, Ms. Friedrichs.
So, is this on?
Yes. Yay, good job. So, it's hard to tell from up here.
It really is. I met Dale this summer, actually, at the DPW picnic. And he was so much fun, and his wife was so much fun. We compared weightlifting routines and...
Show off.
I know, right? And I thought, this is great. I know this guy, and now he's moving out of town. So I'm very sad. I asked him if he had anything specific that he needed me to tell you all about him, and he said, of course, that he's good looking. That's very important. and that he lived in a historic house in town and he loved living in town. So although he's moving out, I know we will always regret that he's gone, and I hope he does not. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments from council? Mr. McKenna.
Again, I wish you well, Dale. It's been great working with you, and also as a citizen advocate, and also was very proud to be a docent at your house for the Holiday Homes tour. Yeah, I was doing my best, and I was a place that be outside the house, right? But I do want to thank you for everything that you did for the town, and also for what you did for things with the historic homes, and we're moving forward because of your proactiveness. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments from council? No? Madam Vice Mayor.
Thank you. So I first came across Dale and his wife Betsy. I was sitting up here as a member of the BZA, and they came forward for a variance to add a front porch to their home. And evidently we had a pretty contentious discussion with the people that went just before him, but we approved their front porch. So then several years go by, and we all end up sitting at the same table at Wolf Trap having dinner, and they go, "Aren't you Sheila Olam? Aren't you on the Board of Zoning Appeals?" And I'm like, "Oh no." What was that? Where do you live? And he told me, and I'm like, and he said the front porch. I went, "Oh yeah, we approved that." And he goes, "Yeah, but we were sweating." But he still spoke to me all those years, and then I ended up meeting him as one of our truck drivers, and we've continued. And then I got to meet his wife, and I really hate that y'all are going to leave. I've gone to a few of your front porch parties, and that's how it is in Herndon. I mean, we know the people that work with us that are on staff. We know the people on council and on the different boards and commissions. And it's really sad when you leave, but I know you're looking forward to it, and I've certainly enjoyed meeting your wife and knowing you as a staff member here on Herndon's Public Works, my favorite department. Nothing against anyone else. Please don't give me a ticket.
Good job.
But yeah, it's really going to be sad to see you guys leave for a lot of reasons, because you're a great staff member, and I've come to know you as friends, and you've been to the island and cooked out with us, and so look forward to hearing from you, and please have that room ready. I would like to come visit. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you. Any other comments from the dais? No? Okay. Well, not to be outdone by Signe, I saw Dale at the gym last week. We almost didn't recognize each other. I just want to congratulate you. I know you've been a huge part of the community as a team member for the town, as a neighbor. You do have one of the best porches in town. I don't know who's going to cook for the picnic next summer. I hope you're making some plans to roll that smoker back up here and help us out. So we're really excited for you. I know it's well deserved. You've had a long and esteemed career. You've taken care of your team, and we're glad that you chose to ride out the sunset of your career here in the town. So we're going to miss you, but we know you'll be around to visit. You know, we've got lots of things going on up here, so we know you'll be back. So congratulations to you, truly. I would like to invite forward at this time the entire dais, all of the DPW staff that are here, any other members of the community that would like to come forward and pay tribute to Dale. We're going to have a presentation, and then if Dale, if you'd like to make some remarks, we'd love to hear from you. Okay, let's go.
Right here, right in the middle. Yes, right in the middle. Everybody else behind. Yes, I will, all of you behind me. Moving this way a little, please. Everybody look to the right. I should say my right.
Just do what Marcia says during the photos.
Nobody will get harmed. So go ahead with the ease. And then,
Who are we looking at? We're looking at.
Look at that. Look at you, Mark.
Oh, we're looking at him. Look at
No, look at them.
okay, look at Marcia. I'm so. Gotcha. Okay. I took offense. Good. Nope. Congratulations. Oh.
Okay, see how that. I know. Yeah.
Dale asked me to tell everyone thank you and that he will definitely miss Herndon, so congratulations.
Well, it's been great serving this town. It was a blessing to me. And I'll never forget that. I'll never forget the residents and how great it was and awesome it was to work with and for the residents. It's been just a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Next up is a certificate of appreciation to recognize Mike Berg, Herndon Police Department, on the occasion of his retirement. And I'd like to invite forward the chief to provide an introduction and some remarks on Lieutenant Berg's service to the town.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Town Council. I greatly appreciate the opportunity tonight to recognize Lieutenant Mike Berg on his nearly 33 years of service with the town and with the Herndon Police Department. I think all of you have received a brochure a little bit about Mike. I'm not going to speak about this tonight. You can read this at your, is this working? Does this sound like it's working? Okay. You can read that at your own and kind of get a glimpse of what Mike's career has been like. He's certainly had a long, storied career here. He spent, 13 years in canine, which is one of his passions. He's working with dogs, and I know that Mike did that as well when he was in the military before coming here, and something he truly enjoyed. But I want to speak a little bit about Mike since I've been here, nearly 7 years since I've come in the doors here in Herndon, and Mike has been a incredibly trusted employee here. I can't stress that enough. I've been here, when I walked in the door, Mike was in an administrative position, probably as Sergeant Mayer can attest to, with the busiest job we have in the police department in our hiring and training office, which is also wears hats of other sizes as far as quartermaster and everything. But it is truly one of the busiest and most important job that we have. Mike did that flawlessly, and he had to do it when I came through the door, demanding change almost every week. And I think that went on for several years. Mike will probably joke about that at some point, but there was constant change coming in the door, and we were striving to do different things, and Mike was always on board and really rolled with it and was excited about making change, but worked like a dog. And it's interesting because Mike was one of those employees that we had to send home. He refused to go home. Sometimes we had to order him to go home. It's kind of funny because the last month we haven't been able to get him to come to work. But when he was engaged here, he would not go home, and it's the kind of employee you wish you could have everywhere. And I know Mike was well respected by his peers, and I want to tell his wife Pat and Sarah, who are both here tonight, and we certainly will introduce. Thank you for letting Mike be so much a part of what we have done here. There are so many things that will always have Mike Berg's name on them, but Mike, despite how hard he worked for us, also took the time to do things for himself. He's very active in his church. He went back to school and got his bachelor's degree just a few years ago and educated himself. So Mike was always willing to learn. He was also responsible for many of the hirings that we did, and that is, as you know, a critical thing we do, including finding our current social media guru, Lisa. But I'm sorry?
That's not me.
That's not you. No, that's our Lisa Herndon back there. But what I do know is there is no lack of commitment in Mike in anything that he does. And HPD is just one long example of the work ethic and the dedication. And I can think of no more honored employees that I have ever spent my nearly 33-year career with, the Lieutenant Berg. And I wish him the best of luck moving forward. He says he's going to retire completely, but he's now talking about jobs, which doesn't surprise me. But Mike will be valuable. I just hope that he does have the time to spend with his family a little more, and allow Pat to have a little more time with him than probably he's been able to give to her over the last 30-some years here. But this town is much better for Mike and his presence here, and I know all the officers here that are here for Mike can attest to how much that he's helped them throughout their careers as well. If Mike and I'd like his family to come up here as well, please, and both of my captains. We have something we want to present to Mike
Certainly.
here, please. One of the things that for tradition for the police departments, and certainly at HPD is no different, is that we present our retiring officers with what we call a shadow box, and it's really a reflection of the things that the officers and supervisors, commanders, wherever level you were at, reflection of the different things you've been able to do throughout your life. And it's something you can hang up on the wall, you can be very proud of, and something that you'll have forever. And this is Mike's shadow box. So in this shadow box here, it has all the different Valor Awards that Mike has won over the course of his career. It has the different badges from the different ranks that he's also attained here with the Herndon patch. And it's presented to Lieutenant Mike Berg in recognition of 32, although it's really almost 33 years, of dedicated service to the town of Herndon Police Department until February 1st of this year. So we want to thank Mike, and I think this is a beautiful reflection for Mike to share with his family and his friends. We are having just a small little reception upstairs. If anybody's in the audience when we're done with this, it's just to meet us upstairs. We also are having a going away party for Mike on our own here in the next couple weeks, and that's our chance to really have fun and really roast Mike and say thank you for all the time that he spent with us, because we certainly don't want to do that here.
Oh man. You get the good stories at that party, right?
Story, yes,
yeah. So while you're up here, are there comments from council?
Come on down here.
Yeah, and then we'll come down and present our certificate to you as well. Mr. McKenna.
Mike, has been great working with you, all the outreach you did with Coffee with a Cop and some other things. But I do want to just relay one story to the audience, just to let you know what kind of guy Mike is. The Herndon parade in 2016, we were all on the watching the parade, reviewing it, and I looked behind me and a little girl fell, skinned her knee pretty good, and Mike went from basically security and patrol to sitting the girl up and putting first aid. And I always say it's the measure of a man is not what you see him doing that he's being noticed. It's what he doesn't, if he's not being seen and he's noticed. So you did that just because you wanted to do that, and that's just I think it's a mark of the kind of person you are. So I still hope I see you at Wegmans once in a while. But it's always good to talk to you, and thank you so much for everything you've done for this town.
Thank you. Other comments? Ms. Friedrichs.
So I ran into Lieutenant Berg at various different events over the years. We have sat next to each other at police award ceremonies. We have spent National Night Out together. And the last time I saw him, I begged him not to leave town. And he told me that the fish wouldn't wait. So since the last, I also have run into him at Art Space, and I'm trying to remember if it was you or your daughter who had a photograph in the exhibit. But you have some unexpected sides, and given that you have an appreciation of art, I wanted to write you a poem. So here's my poem for you: Best wishes for your time with the fishes. Wow, Signy, you're just full of things we didn't know about. Well, top that, Madam Vice Mayor. Did you write a song?
I tried doing a ballad, but it just didn't work.
Maybe at the party next week.
Yeah. So I first remember noticing you when I was in the Council for the Arts. It was the Herndon Festival. I'm in the beer booth, and you were over there doing your duty. And we just always remembered you were the guy that we were looking for that was helping us out. Like, we had someone that had worked at a military cantina that would come help us for the festival every year, and she just got real good with you and several of the other officers that were in the area, and y'all did sign language, so you knew that we were having trouble with somebody, take care of them. So having someone that worked in a bar at a military base was really great for us because we learned a lot about how to run our beer booth, but you were always there. And just, you're a very visible person because maybe I'm so short and I can see your head up there, but I'm going to miss seeing you around. But we hope that you'll just show up in your civilian clothes and have fun. Good luck.
Yes, thank you. Other comments from the dais? Mr. DeCall, followed by Mr. DeLaguia.
Mike, thank you so much for your service. 33 years is a long time to serve, and you definitely need a serving heart, and that you have, that shows your character, and we appreciate your service. Even though I didn't get a chance to meet you personally, that also tells how good driver and citizen I am. And now we have chance to actually work together, and you are gone. But thank you so much for your service, and we are always grateful for whatever you have done to our little town. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Lieutenant Berg, we didn't get to meet while you were on duty, so thank you for that. And I can tell just by what has been said about you, the words, the character that you have, and obviously you've been supported by a loving, caring family and this town. So I hope we do see you around, and I would like to get to know you in a non-active role there.
Thank you, sir. I concur with my colleagues. You've been everywhere for forever, and it's just kind of, I can't believe you're leaving. You look awfully happy. Your family looks really happy. Congratulations, you get him back. Maybe you'll get to come to Herndon Festival and just, hang out near the beer booth doing other things. But we do appreciate your service. I always remember that one of the first times I met you, even before I was on council, was when the motorcycles leave Jimmy's for Rolling Thunder. You're often down there directing traffic, making sure everybody's safe. So we appreciate all that you've done over the years and wish you many years of happy retirement. So with that, I would like to invite you forward once again with your family. Any of fellow officers or other staff members or friends or neighbors that would like to come forward, along with the entire dais and Chief DeBoard, and we will recognize you once again.
I'm happy. Is it delay tomorrow? I'm not good.
Okay, well, yeah, they're on. They're going to double row it. Come on.
Double row.
Yeah, come on. Okay. Mike, you need to be in the pass there. Yeah, right here. Probably the only time I can tell you what to do. Behind the dais, behind there, behind the dais. It's too big of a picture, so. I'll get back there. Everybody.
Oh, it is. Might be the second time. Yeah, there you go. Must have been Jay who figured this out.
Hey, computer only way to get into the picture.
Ones and O's.
Good. Look at Justin. Okay, I'm getting ready. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Got it. Look at Marcia to the right.
To our left.
Other right. Yeah, my right. Your left. Sorry. Give a smile. Damien dropped his vest. Hold on. Okay. That's probably the biggest smile I've ever seen you have, Bert. It really is. And the biggest smile Pat has ever had, too. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to say something.
Right.
Hey, guys, hang tight a minute.
I think she meant them, not you.
I would say, just start talking. Oh.
Well, I've spent 33 years avoiding this podium, but all streaks must come to an end, I guess. One of the great things about this town is the way that the body that is the council, past and present, the citizens of this town and the police officers of this town, both past and present, have always found a way to work together. Difficult times, easy times, we've always found common ground and always found a way to move forward. And unfortunately, I don't think it's quite that way all over the country, but it certainly is that way in Herndon. And it's my biggest prayer that that continues to be that way in this town. I thank you, the council, and the councils before you. I thank all the officers that are here tonight and all the officers I served with over the last 33 years. And I thank the citizens. Many of church people I've gone to church with for more than 3 decades are here tonight, and I've served with them and couldn't have done some of the things that I have done without all of those people. Finally, I want to speak for a minute about my wife and daughter. My wife married me. She knew I was a cop, but I don't know that she necessarily knew what she was signing up for. My daughter kind of came along and didn't really have a choice. It's not always easy. I can't count the number of times I've walked away from a dinner table in a restaurant, leaving, in one case, drywall hanging because I had to come to work, just kind of hanging. I mean, literally, not just by a couple screws. That's happened to Pat over and over and over again for the last 3 decades, and Sarah for the last 2 decades. You don't come home always when you say you're going to come home, and that can be hard on a teenager, and at times it was hard on Sarah. But they both never complained. They handled it like law enforcement families handle it all over the country. And I'll be forever grateful to them, and I won't ever be able
to say any more than thank you to return that. Thank you for giving me this minute to speak tonight. And I know you guys have business to transpire, so I will leave you before the light comes on or something. I think I have.
Thank you. And finally, we have a proclamation to recognize Herndon Town Incorporation Day, which is January 14th, 2019. This will be our 140th anniversary. I will recognize Councilmember McKenna to read the proclamation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A Town of Herndon proclamation recognizing Herndon Town Incorporation Day, January 14th, 2019. The Town of Herndon, Virginia was officially incorporated on January 14th, 1879. In honor of the town's official birthday, the Mayor and Town Council of the Town of Herndon, Virginia, hereby proclaim January 14th, 2019 as Herndon Town Incorporation Day in the Town of Herndon to recognize the 140th anniversary of our town. With respect and reverence to the Town of Herndon and its history, the Town Council will highlight and proclaim each January 14th as Herndon Town Incorporation Day. Further, the Mayor and Town Council in the Town of Herndon, Virginia hereby express appreciation to mayors, councils, members of Herndon Historical Society, town staff, and volunteers who, both in past and in the present, continually strive to preserve and document the history of the Town of Herndon and encourage the public's interest in our distinct heritage. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Comments from the Town Council. Mr. McKenna.
Yeah, obviously this is a very important day because it makes us unique. I talk about 4.2 square miles of endless possibilities, and I really believe that. And it's great to see past council members here, Ms. Veda, Mr. Waddell, Ms. Jonas, that I see out there. I really appreciate you being here, and that's the kind of proactive citizenry that we have, and it really reflects upon us. And just going back to my swearing in, my family surprised me. I didn't know they were coming from New Jersey, and they were overwhelmed by how amazing everyone was, how warm and friendly they were. And within a few hours, they caught the magic that is Herndon. And I think the founding fathers of this town certainly had an idea, but I want to thank everyone who has laid the foundation to where we are today, because without that, we're not here. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. I also wanted to recognize former council member Ann Veda is here, so welcome. I didn't think you saw her back there. Other comments of council? Ms. Friedrichs.
I'm very happy to celebrate this moment because part of the reason I moved to this town is because it has a history. I looked all over Fairfax County when I was looking for a place to move when we had just moved back here from Italy, and this was the first place I saw in Fairfax County that actually seemed like a home to me. I also want to mention that one of our residents, Barbara Glakis, has recently written a book about Herndon's history, and I'm guessing...
You stole my answer.
I will reserve this comment.
I'm kidding.
Has recently written a book about Herndon called The Hidden History of Herndon, which is now available to you on Amazon.com. And I look forward to reading it. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments from council? Mr. DeCall?
I'm very happy to celebrate this day. Because I'm very blessed to be in Herndon. I mean, I came from a different part of the world, and I could have gone to any states or any cities. As a matter of fact, I went to few, and I found Herndon to be the home. So I'm very honored to serve the council as well. And to me, Herndon is a very vibrant community, a very thriving community, and very welcoming community. And that's my perception. And that's what I have found over here. And I'm very happy that we are actually incorporating that day today. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Del Aguila.
Yeah, I'd also like to kind of ditto on some of the other comments. Herndon feels like home, certainly for me, and I know for a lot of folks. And a lot of us can choose to live in a lot of different places in the area. I just think this is like one of the coolest places I've visited, and I'm thankful that we're doing this.
Thank you. I agree. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Olam.
Yes. Yeah, I moved here when it was only 110 years old, so I've. It is a very welcoming town, and I can tell you shortly after I came here, I had some devastating things happen in my family, and the neighbors and the whole community, the town council, that I really didn't know that well at the time, were just right there for me. And when we lost the visitor center, the Historic Society, Herndon's Historic Society, started opening up the museum so that people could go there on weekends to see about our heritage. And one of my friends that lived in town, that's also my ophthalmologist, had the book, Ship of Gold, and he loaned it to me when I took a cruise one year. I actually read The Ship of Gold while cruising on the ocean, and it was an excellent book. If you haven't read it and want to learn something about Captain Herndon, who our town is named after, it's a great book, and they couldn't figure out what they were going to name the town, and this guy had gone down with this ship, and that's where we got the name. So it's a great piece of history, and they have some things, artifacts there at the depot if you want to go check those out. But it's exciting to live in a town that's this old, and we still have some of our historic buildings around, and I hope we do for a long time. Thank you.
Thank you. I concur with my colleagues. People tell me all the time that that they've never lived in a place that makes them feel at home like Herndon does. All of my younger friends are always talking about Stars Hollow has nothing on Herndon. So if you're a Gilmore Girls fan, you'll know what they mean. You know, a lot of us sort of accidentally found our homes in Herndon. I know my husband and I, before we had kids, would come into the Herndon Festival and Friday Night Live and all those events, and then sort of accidentally fell into buying our house in downtown because we were excited to be able to walk down there when we did start our family. I know Councilman DeLaguila found his house riding his bike over from Herndon and was one of the first people to buy in fortnightly. And Sheila made sure she lived in a town because she likes to have a place that is self-governed and that she can have a voice in. So, and I don't know everyone else's stories, but I'm sure I'll find them out over the years. We attract people from all over the world. We started as a rail town, and we're coming full circle as a rail town when our Herndon Metro Station finally opens next year. We're so excited. And we're pleased to have this proclamation. We do recognize it every year, and every 10 years, we do a formal presentation in the public, is what our tradition has been. So I see lots of people from the Historic Society here, and I'm glad you're here to accept the proclamation. I would like to invite forward Nancy Saunders, who I believe is the president. Barbara Glaskis is the historian. Charlie Waddell, are you the vice president? Okay, that's what I thought. I don't have you on my list, but I knew you were involved. If there are other members present, I'm going to invite forward the entire dais, the town manager, town attorney, and anyone else who would like to come forward for this proclamation.
Cut off my head.
Wait. Not done yet. You guys like each other. All right, okay. You guys are dead in it.
I just don't like people calling me.
Charlie, you're going to say you got your paper, right? Okay.
Mayor Merkel and Town Council members, my name is Nancy Saunders. I'm president of the Historical Society. And so on behalf of the Historical Society, we are honored to accept the proclamation recognizing the 140th anniversary of the town's incorporation. So this will be hung in the Depot Museum, so I hope you will come and visit. We are open on Sundays starting in March through mid-December from 12 to 3. And now I'm going to turn the mic over to Charlie Waddell and then to Barbara.
This is sort of extemporaneous. I didn't anticipate speaking, but I thought I would see a few comments. I'm proud, Charlie Waddell, 929 Barton Oaks Place, proud to call myself a citizen of Herndon for the past 24 years, vice president of the Herndon Historical Society, and proud of that organization. Thanks for the resolution. You recognize a special place, both with history and the people who make history and make it special. And the magic. I couldn't have said it better. That is what Herndon is all about, the people and the magic. We have our place in history, both past and present. It's some of the events that make this an extra special place. Herndon Holiday Homes Tour, the Homecoming Parade, which one of you mentioned, National Night Out. But it's also the people. We've got a lot of character and a lot of characters in this town. And also a lot of volunteers, those who give of their time to make it a stronger, more cohesive, giving and caring community. And I want to thank them also. Mayor Merkel, as you mentioned, we've grown from a railroad town 140 years ago to what just a stop, milepost 23 on the rail, the WNOD, to what we are now. And I'd like to call it, and I think you've alluded to it, 4.28 square miles of heaven in Fairfax County. But to, excuse me, to me, it's the center of the universe. Because if Herndon ain't got it, you probably don't need it. Much diversity, much attraction, and I want to thank you for capturing the magic and promoting Herndon. Another 140 years, and I'm looking forward to the 150th. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I know.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. I would like to give a brief overview of the town's beginnings. Up until about 1840, excuse me, this area that is now the town of Herndon had about 4 homes in it. The railroad was built to Herndon in 1857, and the post office opened in our new train depot in 1858. The post office was named Herndon after Commander William Lewis Herndon. The rail stimulated the development of our little village. At some point in time around 1878, the people of our unnamed village decided to increase their self-determination by becoming incorporated. On January 14th, 1879, the Virginia General Assembly granted incorporation power to our municipality within defined geographic limits, and the town was authorized to govern itself. The name of our post office was adopted, and we officially became the town of Herndon. In the 1880 census, the town of Herndon's population was 422 people. As a result of the incorporation, a group of 7 men were selected to govern the town. It is not known exactly how this original group of men were selected, as no election was recorded prior to them being sworn in 1 month later in the Herndon Depot on February 8th in 1879. This was the date that the first town council minutes were taken. On that date, the councilmen were sworn in by Richard Coleman of Fairfax County Justice of the Peace. The first order of business was to elect a mayor. At that time, the 7 council members were the ones who elected the mayor amongst themselves. They elected Ansel St. John, but he declined the job. It was not explained in the minutes why he declined the job, but I speculate it may have been due to the fact that his age, he was 80 years old by then, and a year later, he returned to New Jersey to live with his son. The mayor position then went to the next highest vote getter, Isaiah Brady. At the next meeting on February 22nd, their only order of business was to borrow $5 across 6 months of time in order to buy some stationery. In the next meeting in March, they prepared a bond to pay the town sergeant a salary. And then they set up a committee to start drafting our town ordinances, which they worked on earnestly in the next few months. So that's a brief overview of some of our incorporated beginnings. Thank you for recognizing the town's 140th birthday with this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Happy birthday, Herndon. That brings us to, That brings us to the comments portion of the agenda. Mr. Town Manager, do you have any comments for us?
Nothing, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. DeCall, do you have any comments for us this evening?
Sure. Is this related to just
That's,
or overall comments?
no, it's not related to the agenda. Any comments that you'd like to make to the crowd? Would you like me to come back to you? I'm happy to.
No, I'm good.
Okay,
I'm good.
thank you. Certainly.
Right. Okay, so a few things I definitely wanted to share. The first thing is we went to Rowan Tree Co-working and co-growth ribbon cutting today, and it was a wonderful place for business incubation, and met some wonderful people. And since I'm always advocating entrepreneurship, I think that place will be a great place to, discuss about different ideas for the town and its future. So I'm very excited to be there. After that, we actually went to our Chamber of Commerce meeting where I was asked to share a few things about, how I ran the election and what I'm looking forward to. And again, I share some ideas about entrepreneurship and how we can actually help our constituents to be more, do more, give more, receive more. I always talk about more. So that was a fruitful meeting as well. Also, I wanted to add one more thing. Our town manager, Bill Ashton, lost his father. So my sincere condolences to you and your family, and may his departed soul rest in peace. Another FYI, I just knew, and I wanted to share, especially, learning any new skills, whether it's IT, accounting, business, in order to get new jobs or moving the, career ladder, we always keep on learning things, right? And I found there is a app called lynda.com, which is a LinkedIn learning website. And obviously, it's a paid subscription. People pay money, maybe $100 a month or so, to actually get all those trainings, whether it's about, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, Scrum Master, database, anything related to IT, accounting, and all those things. But with Fairfax County Public Library membership, it's free. So I think that's a good place to go and check out, because formal education stops, but learning never stops. So I think that's a great place to check out new things, to learn new technology ideas and everything. I wanted to share that as well. That's all. And swearing in, it was a great event. So I want to thank the town staff, especially the town manager, the town clerks, for putting the great show. And there was a lot of big participation, and there were people who attended first time, a lot of people, and that also shows maybe it's an icebreaker towards the inclusion or inclusivity we always talk about, right? Inclusiveness we always talk about. So I'm very happy and I'm honored. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. De La Aguila.
Yeah, I'll kind of play off the theme, learning. Learned something at VML last week. For the folks that weren't listening in terms of there was a Fourth Circuit court ruling. As elected officials, I'm taking the position of, you won't ever see me texting up here. I gave my phone to the town clerk, and all email transactions, I will not have a private server or anything in my home. All my business will be done on the town-issued devices. And I recommend everyone follow that. It's just great for transparency. So thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Mr. McKenna.
To echo what Mr. DeCall said, my blessings to you, Mr. Ashton. I know how much your dad meant to you and how much you meant to him. So just know I'm thinking of you, and may his memory be your blessing. And I also want to thank everyone again. The swearing in was a special night, especially for me. I thought I was going to be going up there alone, but a lot of friends chipped in, some staff I had no idea my family was coming, and I won't lie to you, it was a very emotional time for me because it harkened back to when I was in 1998, scared kid with my parents there with me because my family was there as well, and it meant a lot. So, thanks.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Friedrichs.
So I hope everybody was able to enjoy the holidays. It's been a long time since we've actually said anything on the dais, and I didn't realize that we haven't spoken since the holidays. I wanted to mention that Next Up Theater is now showing a musical called Title of Show, which is very, very entertaining. I had no great hopes for it because Title of Show is not very evocative as a title, but that's actually what it is. It's funny. You will laugh. I also wanted to mention that ArtSpace has a show right now called Three Moves to the Divine, which I believe the mayor has gone to. I was not able to attend it yet, but it's there through February 3rd, and it's a collection of photography of Ghana by Randy Preston and poetry by Kwame Alexander, who's a local resident, and some others. So I recommend that we all go to it. I too enjoyed the swearing in, and earlier that day, the VML meeting, and delighted that the town council is going to begin doing some more further outreach to citizens of the town. So I know we haven't quite worked out all the details, but there will be more opportunities, such as the meeting that we had to rewrite the guidelines, or to talk about rewriting the guidelines for the Historic Preservation Board. We'll be having more meetings like that where town residents are invited, and many, many of the council members and mayor and staff will be there for you to talk to about whatever you need to discuss. We're also working on a new code of conduct, which is pretty exciting. At VML, one of my colleagues shared their town's code of conduct, and they've just developed it very thoroughly, and I'd like to see us do something similar. Also want to mention that the first community garden meeting, the organizational meeting, will be at the library on Thursday night, this Thursday at 6:30, and I will be there with my mom. So I look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Thank you. First, thank you, DPW. I know you were working hard all this weekend. When I got up 1:30 in the morning, Saturday, that was the day it snowed? Or was it Friday?
Saturday and the Sunday.
Saturday. I looked out my window because I heard something, and there they were going through the street. The next morning, when I really got up, there they were at 10 o'clock and numerous times throughout the day. So thank you. I know that that's a grueling task to keep that snow that would not stop coming down. I had gone out that evening and taken off some of the snow off of my driveway. Next morning, you couldn't tell I had touched it. So, I can't imagine what you guys did. So last week, I began my tenure as the vice mayor of the Herndon Town Council, and I just wanted to thank the citizens of the town and my colleagues here on council for this opportunity to serve, and I'm humbled and honored to have this position. And I'm looking forward to working with everyone up here on the dais. We had our first meeting, and things are going very well. We've already set out on a couple of things that we're working on. Councilmember Friedrich mentioned some of them, like updating our code of conduct, hosting the community meetings, which she referred to. I think that's going to be exciting because we did get some great feedback when the meet and greet happened back in, I believe it was October, because a lot of people came in and were asking questions about the community. So this will have staff plus council members, and a lot of people don't like to stand up in public and speak. But please keep in mind that one of the great things about living in Herndon or any other town in America that has elected officials, you can catch us at the grocery store, the parking lot, the festival, art space, walking around, on a snowy day, trying to make it to one of our restaurants. We're accessible, and I know when my neighborhood has our get-togethers, I live on that island up in off of Bowers Lane. Before we start our parties, they look at me and go, "Okay, we want to, state of the town." So we discuss that, and then it's like, "Okay, I'm off duty." So please, anytime you want to talk to me, I'm available. Sometimes I'm available when you don't want to talk to me, but call me anyway. I'm always willing to talk about the town. I really love it. But one of the saddest things about this year, one of the biggest things I've had going for me over the years is my mom is always here with me, Miss Gracie, helping with the campaign. And she's always there with me when I get sworn in. She wasn't able to come up. I will be going to visit her later this month. And I don't know how the heck I made it and got elected without Miss Gracie, because she has been my rock.
She was with you.
I know it. She was. We were taught every day. I would call her up and she'd ask me how the campaign trail was. And so I look forward to the next 2 years working with my colleagues. And please, you guys call me, council members. You know I call you because that's what I do. And I look forward to working with everyone and our great staff. We have wonderful staff, and I look forward to working with you as well. Thank you.
We do. Thank you very much. I know it's tough when watching your parents get older, and I know, Mr. Ashton, we're definitely thinking of you and your family. You mentioned your mom and the swearing in and the campaigning. When my mother was very ill this past fall, and I wasn't very public about it, but I had to go unexpectedly out of town to be with her right before the election, and she was very groggy and not doing well. But when she opened her eyes and saw me, she said, "Hey, darling, why are you here? You have an election." So moms are always there for you. So give Gracie our best as well. When you go last, everything's already been said. So I did enjoy the Rowan Tree ribbon cutting. Everybody that was able to be there on the council was there, and it was just a great community. These women have done a great job. It is focused on women co-working, but everyone is welcome. So if you are out there and are interested in checking it out, they would love to have you come by. They're over in Sunset Business Park, along with all the other cool stuff in town. Well, not all of it, but a lot of the cool things in town. I'm so glad you mentioned the art space exhibit, because I couldn't remember the name of it, but Three Moves to the Divine, right? Yes. That's what you said. So all of these are beautiful portraits of boys and girls mostly, but some adults in Ghana. As you may know, that Kwame Alexander, who lived in Herndon when he wrote his Newbery Award-winning book, The Crossover, which Herndon is always taking credit for, since he wrote it in our town. I tell him that all the time. But these were taken on a trip, over the course of several trips, where they were building a library and a medical clinic in this village. And all of these photos are taken on an iPhone. So you must go and see it, because you will not believe the just beauty of these photos. So definitely check it out. I think it's there all month, through the end of the month, till February 2nd. Thank you. I wanted to mention our Youth Advisory Council. It's perking right along. Mr. McKenna has once again been appointed the chair, and then they met on Thursday. And you really should try and stop by one of these meetings. They have started an Instagram account. It's at Herndon YAC for Youth Advisory Council. So definitely follow them. They are dying and desperate for followers. But what I loved watching happen was it's been sort of perking along for a little bit, but not really taking off. And so a couple of the members of the committee, an 8th grader and a 9th grader, consulted with me and met with Mr. McKenna and said, could we do a PowerPoint presentation to talk about ideas for how to get this going? And so they did a fantastic job, and the committee decided that they should be in charge of the Instagram. So I think their plan worked. But if you are on Instagram, check them out. It's at Herndon YAC to see what's going on with our youth. And finally, the swearing-in ceremony, I think, was one of my favorite nights that I've experienced as the mayor in a very long time. It was great to see so many people who've come to almost every swearing-in ceremony that I've been a part of, and lots of new people. As Pradeep said, if you were at the homecoming parade, he's got a few friends, and a few of them came on Wednesday night. I think it's an exciting time to be on the Herndon Town Council. There's lots of things things brewing. We're downtown Metro. I sound like a broken record, but we're super excited. And in case you weren't at the swearing in, or even if you were there and it was so great you want to watch it again, it's on hctv.org on demand. You can watch it. It's only about 40 minutes long. We formatted it a little differently this year because I figure you guys are tired of hearing me talk. So I spent most of the time introducing each member individually, so you get to learn a little bit about their background, professionally, personally, what makes them tick, and some of the reasons why they chose to step up and run for town council. And I did want to recognize our two new members who may be questioning why they decided this was a good idea, but we're glad you're here. And Mr. Del Aguila is the first ever Latino to be elected in the entire county of Fairfax, and certainly in the town of Herndon. And with a populace that is over 35% Latino, we are thrilled to have that representation. And Mr. DeCall is one of only 4 Nepalese Americans in the entire country who has been elected to elected office. And so congratulations. I did not know that until last week, and I think that this is just an exciting opportunity for our town, and I'm looking forward to the next 2 years. And you guys are all right, too. So, but no, I do appreciate it, and I'm really excited about a new term and a fresh start and getting some things done. So. See, I knew you guys were tired of hearing me talk. The last thing I'll say is that we are closed on Monday for Martin Luther King Day, and it's supposed to be freezing cold. So check out the town's website for a refuse collection and the hours of operation for this community center and the golf course. And, of course, thank you to DPW. I got so many emails this time, and I'm sure other council members did, too, about the stellar job that you guys did. So thank you. Finally, it's time for comments from the audience. This is the opportunity to come forward and speak on any item that's not listed as one of our public hearing items. You have up to 3 minutes. State your name and address for the record, and when the red light comes on, please wrap up. Who would like to come forward? Mr. Campini.
Charlie Waddell not having much to say is kind of novel.
I know, right?
William Campani, 1104 Iron Ridge Court, Herndon. Congratulations to the council, new members and old, on starting a new term. And before I start, so there's no interruptions, everybody in the right seat. Okay, got that. Okay. Before I get into my topic there, Sheila, Mayor, Bill, ditto on that, the work of the DPW for the snow. It was really outstanding. We're over in those cul-de-sacs where we're usually the last ones to see them, and boy, they were there long before we even got up there. So, again, good job. I remind you of Section 3.1 of the Town Charter, which states candidates for town offices shall not be identified on the ballot by any political affiliation. Now, that is narrowly defined to affect only the actual ballot. But the original intent was to keep Herndon elections independent and free of political party influence and control. Now reflect on our recent town election. One past political party chairman has previously stated that the Herndon town offices were to serve like a minor league baseball team, as farm teams to train party candidates for higher electoral offices. No, the council jobs are for the good of the citizens of Herndon and not for a political party. We then had candidates actually trying to buy a political party endorsement, and we had political party operatives from outside the town actually attempting to select the candidates for our council election. And how did that turn out? We saw a sorry spectacle of candidates at each other's political throats, all within that one party. And that party was not the Green Party, or the Libertarian Party, or the Republican Party, but the Democrat Party. With your recent experience, isn't it time to be honest with the people of Herndon? Either get rid of that section of the town charter or admit what is obvious, that our elections are no longer independent but in the possession of political parties, or expand the charter to enforce truly nonpartisan elections in the future where we vote for the candidate and not for the political party that controls him. From Hamlet, Polonius' advice to his son, this above all else, to thine own selves be true. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Yes, sir.
Jeff Smith, 1001 Trinity Gate. Good evening, Mrs. Mayor, council members. I look forward to the good work that you guys are going to be doing over the next 2 years. While I may not have voted for all of you, I do want to say that you are my mayor and you guys are my council members. At this point, vote totals no longer matter. Each of you has just one voice and one vote. I urge you guys to put away any lingering issues from this past election and all come together and work for the best of this town. Speaking of this great town, I do sincerely want to thank DPW for everything they did this weekend. Everyone driving trucks was taking time away from their family, and that's extraordinary, doing all that for us. Finally, as many in our community are affected by this current government shutdown, I was wondering if there's anything that the town has looked into to try to defer any costs or fees for our fellow citizens that are essentially forced volunteers. Maybe defer like water bills and stuff until after the shutdown is done. So, thank you.
Yep. Thank you for that suggestion. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward? Mr. Munt.
Madam Mayor, Town Council. Steve Munt, right now I currently reside, and I hope I'm still residing when I'm done, at 814 Locust Street with my lovely wife, who may be watching this on TV.
Hi, Betsy.
Just, I want to, first of all, I want to congratulate all of you. It's tough. And people who take the time to be elected officials and serve, and that's what you've all decided to do, thank you for the gift, okay? Now, that being said, I'm kind of chiming in with what's been said before. What's happened in the past is over. You all took an oath last week, and you stood up and you raised your hand, and you said, and I'm challenging you to follow this, I will do my very best in a nonpartisan, non-prejudice way. That's, I may not have the words exact, but that's what it's talking about. It's talking about not, we empowered you as the citizens of Herndon to be selfless servants. That's what we empowered you to do. And every day, think about the good that you're doing for Herndon. Now, that's my challenge to you. On DPW and the rest, listen, I got to tell you, this is the best I've seen. They got out early. They treated the roads early. They did all the things they needed to do. They got out with the plows. They did the rest. And as you can see, we are much, much better for it. What I would, however, offer to the council, is you may want to consider, we do not have an ordinance that requires businesses and homeowners to shovel their walks. We opened our schools, and we have kids that are having to walk out in the street because homeowners won't get out and shovel their walks. Now, I'm not saying, you shouldn't have the latitude. If somebody is physically incapable of shoveling their walks, let the town know. We have a lot of youth organizations that are looking for community projects that they can go by and shovel walks. I do my neighbors because of their age, and I'm happy to do that. But we need an ordinance to get these, and particularly with the businesses. There's no reason that the businesses will not get out and do that. It's not a town responsibility. The businesses have those sidewalks they need to clear. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward? Yes, ma'am.
Ann Veda, 631 Oak Street. Good evening, Madam Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, members of the council. Thank you, Mr. Campini, and other previous speakers. Excellent points. Thanks for posting the audio of the work session. 2 hours of drama, suspense, comedy. I urge that future work sessions and public hearings be posted with audio and visual in openness and full information. The visuals add a lot. Further, I urge that a transcript be posted, a searchable transcript. No taxes need to be raised. I personally pledge the $5 it takes for the app to convert it into a searchable transcript. It's $5. Y'all touched on the subject of code of conduct, but the timeline was unclear. The code of conduct is an urgent requirement. It needs immediate action. Delays call into questions votes cast by potential conduct violators and open us up to legal tangles. I urge the publication of your course of action. We need to know the work sessions, the public hearings, the timelines. This is vital. This is urgent. I further urge that the phrase take under advisement, be banished from the body, replaced by a democratic process of casting and counting votes. I heard some talk about diversity. Was it diversity of pigment? I don't know. But I know that y'all need diversity of thought. It's become an echo chamber, and we need to listen to every single member of the citizens, the businesses, the homeowners, the entrepreneurs, the thinkers. It's high time. Briefly mentioned was soliciting input for the heritage preservation guidelines and other, y'all mentioned soliciting. I was among the citizens and homeowners at that Saturday session, and I feel ripped off. I spilled my guts, and I haven't seen any product. You know, what was published on the on Facebook or the website was not worthy of your citizens' time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward and speak on any item that's not listed as a public hearing? Yes, sir.
Good evening. Chris Devine, 759 Center Street. Madam Mayor, members of the council, thank you for your service and for your time this evening. I'd like to start with a rhetorical question. How is the culture of any organization ultimately experienced by those it serves? On December 13th, I received a zoning violation, and I need to share some alarming observations from this first experience. After the citation appeared on my front door, I took the first available opportunity to meet with town staff to better understand my new predicament. In that meeting, I learned that the town had very little understanding of the cited activity, which was house concerts, and as a result were very vague on how my activity tripped the wire as a commercial use. After the meeting, I submitted my application for appeal and dug deeper into the ordinance, where I found conflicts with what I was told by the staff, so I sent a follow-up email with 3 questions. Here's one of those questions, quote, "Can you confirm that no penalties will accrue until and unless the violation is upheld, as stated in Section 78? A specific and I think fair question. Here's what I got back in email, quote, "I'm unable to opine on the consequences of future actions other than to say the town governs itself pursuant to state code and town ordinances." I instantly felt better. And I also knew I needed a lawyer. When a citizen is abruptly cited with a violation, the town has said you are now guilty and may incur civil and even criminal penalties, and the clock is ticking. Along the way, I turned to you, my elected officials, for insights as to why I wasn't entitled to basic information, but I was denied that access. Maybe under the guise of process integrity, I was never given an official reason. So here's what this means for any citizen in this situation. First, you will need an excellent command of the English language. You need the financial ability to appeal and to obtain legal assistance to interpret the ordinance, especially the section on potential criminal violations. You can't turn to your elected officials or town leadership. They can't help you. And you better make a lot more time in your day to sweat this because it's a very big deal. Taken together, I've just described denial of the right to due process, a protection granted by the 14th Amendment. In layman's terms, this really sucks. In ending my comments, I'd like to return to a slight variation on my first question. How is the culture of a small town ultimately experienced by its citizens? It's in the low-level stuff that leadership might not always see, the mundane turning of all the gears required to maintain order. But what if these things are devoid of common courtesy, gratitude, compassion, love, maybe even magic? That might be a stretch. But aren't these the qualities we want in our small town culture? Because if the culture you intend doesn't make it all the way through to the other side of that stuff, you have nothing. Because most of us live on the other side every day. As our leadership team, please take a close look at what's happening here, especially the part about due process. Thank you again for your time and your service.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention, sir. Yes, sir.
My name's Lon Dunn. I live on Fantasia Drive. I don't have quite the formal statement that he has, but in looking up this 100-page ordinance that even in and of itself, if you bother to read it, if you've ever read it, challenge you to stomach 100 pages of this nonsense. There is an actual cure for it, And most towns aren't aware that they can be brought to bear under Title 42, which I've had some experience in helping towns do. Title 42, 1983, that's not the year, that's the federal statute. It allows people to sue local government for violating any federal right. So if the man's Fourth Amendment, 14th, or First Amendment right to free speech, doing what he wants in his home and throwing a party in his home is going to get an ordinance, you're going to use a local ordinance, that law allows you to shut that down. Now, you guys can go around and rewrite the whole 100 pages if you want and fix it, or you could just let it be. But I think I'd like to talk a little bit and bring it home a little bit more personally. Like any human being on this planet, I spend 90% of my disposable income 5 miles from where I reside. My dry cleaning, my pharmacy, up and down the roads of Herndon, go to the grocery store, my doctor. Right? I'm a citizen, I pay taxes. What in the heck was this zoning person doing, loitering around in his parking lot at 8 o'clock at night? What are we paying, overtime for this person to do this? What do they think, they're Magnum PI? Really? It's a joke. What is she doing hanging out 8 o'clock, counting how many people this guy has going in and out of his house for a party on private property? And then basically what we're doing then is, as a town, we're stating that this crazy ordinance allows us to police what people do within their home under the guise of zoning. I just don't like it. I don't like the idea that my taxpayer dollars are going that way. I don't like that I have to come down here and speak my mind about it, because I just think it's just absolutely beyond the pale of imagination that we're paying our town employees to hang out and loiter in this guy's parking lot. It's ridiculous, okay? Not only that, but if he wants to keep throwing parties, threaten him some more, that's just ridiculous. I say town council does something about it and tells the town employees, knock it off, leave him alone. Let him do what he wants in the privacy of his home. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Leah Devine, and I live at 12101 at East Park Drive. My name is Leah, and I live in the Kingstream neighborhood, and I'm actually a kindergarten teacher as well at Drainsville Elementary School. And so naturally, I believe that everything we ever needed to learn about life, we learned in kindergarten. Chris Devine's zoning violation from the town of Herndon creates for the town leadership what we in Teacher Talk call a teachable moment. We have a lot of these in kindergarten, and we have just as many in the real world. Mr. Devine's zoning violation appeal is most definitely an opportunity for the town leadership to not only act in accordance with the town's vision, but also to create a beautiful teachable moment for the members of our community. Posted on the Town of Herndon's website, which I went to last night, is a vision statement, which includes the declaration that Herndon is the heart of an expanded community where arts and entertainment enrich the quality of life and bring people together. There's a living example of this in a townhouse on Center Street. Chris's house concert, I don't call them parties, they're house concerts. They give Herndon residents the opportunity to have an unbelievably intimate musical experience where these artists of the highest caliber, I mean, we're talking about Nashville artists, come to share their stories and their music with those who choose to come together as friends and share that space that evening. It's a small but shining example of how the arts enrich our quality of life and bring the community together in this town. By comparison, We have the Friday Night Live Booze Fest that occurs from May through August. And in my opinion, does little but bring noise, mediocre cover bands, and a plethora of preteens and teens that trample through the center of an otherwise peaceful Friday night in our town. I believe that if we're looking for an event that speaks to the town of Herndon's desire to embrace the arts and enrich the quality of life for our town's residents, Chris's house concerts deliver that in a much more genuine way than Friday Night Live does. I would encourage the town leadership to carefully reflect on its vision to determine how to respond in this teachable moment. If this town is to shut down house concerts based on unclear zoning regulations, then the moment of teaching its citizens that Herndon not only talks the talk, but walks the walk when it comes to the arts, culture, and community, it's lost. When I, as a teacher, am faced with a difficult but a teachable moment, I take a deep breath, I step back, I ask myself, what is the real lesson here? These moments, they set a precedent for how one is to move forward and to do better for themselves and the community that they are a part of. If the town of Herndon wants its community members to be able to gather and enjoy opportunities like house concerts, then they need to understand that this very important decision is going to set a precedent for other events.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to come forward? Yes, sir.
Hi, Madam Mayor, Council. My name is Bill Hamlet. I live at 1002 Monroe Street. Lived there for 16 years now, just down the street from Tom Rust. A couple other commission members may live close by. I can tell you that our streets are full of cars sometimes for events of the political persuasion. I'm here also to support Chris Devine in his zoning ordinance debacle. So I'm impacted by Chris and his house concerts in a very positive way, and so is everybody that goes there. Some of these artists he comes in with actually go to the school and help out their people in Guitar Boosters, which I believe Chris is still affiliated with. And so he has brought to us this great venue. It is just a private home, somebody opening their home. There's, chairs sitting there, much like you'd see here, and it is quiet as you can hear a pin drop other than the guy playing guitar or the other woman performing whatever. It's a great, intimate ordeal. You should go if you have the chance. And I was encouraged because I've heard people tonight talk about porch parties, etc. So I know you know what getting together is and how much people like to get together and be together. And to hear these people play wherever they come from, where there's many from Nashville, some from Australia, they're great and they're trying to make a living. There's no money made by Chris on this. It's totally all money goes to the artist. House concerts are a national forthcoming here, and if you look around, pull them up on a website, you'll find there's many around here. Reston, Falls Church, etc. Most of them operate under a name. If a name bothered this person who wrote the ordinance, then or made the insinuation here that it's a commercial event or something, then that's the, just a way to get the advertisement out there. So I would implore you in your deliberation of that zoning infraction to look the other way, whatever you want to do. But I can't say look the other way, but if you can't go into somebody's living room and tell them what to do on a non-commercial event, there's many parties that happen in Herndon every night, every day. So it'd be the same thing for that. And this is a very positive event that happens here. We do go out to the restaurants here. Chris has bought, snacks and things for us. There's no, purchase of alcohol by him, by anybody. So it's a very straight up place.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward and speak on any item that's not listed on our public hearing agenda? Thank you. State your name and address for the record. You have up to 3 minutes.
Hey, good evening. My name is Jason Baranowski. I'm at 1116 Arctic Quill Road in Herndon. A lot of what I was going to say was there's some crossover what's already been said. It's about Chris's venue. And actually, I was listening, my first town council meeting I've ever been to, and I've been listening to a lot of the messages that came from the town council. And I haven't been to Chris's venue yet, but I've seen it from a distance, and I've been dying to get there. And I've seen all the marketing and all the messages, and it's been fantastic. So first of all, Chris's venue is actually very parallel with a lot of Herndon's identity and what you said tonight. First of all, it's extremely entrepreneurial. Extremely. I believe our sons were playing together Jam and Java one night, and Chris told me he left his corporate job to launch this. And I was like, wow, man, what a dream come true. Good for you. It's awesome. Second of all, obviously it's for the arts. And I could tell you that, yes, all the artists have come in, and they're not just, like our sons are in punk rock bands, but these are really nice artists. Our sons are great artists too, but it's for the arts, and actually it's an educational venue. I remember my son going to the home because Chris has an extremely vast guitar collection, and both of our sons, I believe, went through the famous guitar class at Herndon that's known and recognized nationally, and they explored all the guitars at the venue. So I haven't forgotten that. And you mentioned diversity tonight, and with the diverse amount of artists and the diverse audiences pulled together right next door to Friday Night Live in a smaller format. I'm not anti-Friday Night Live. I'm a former volunteer. No qualms with the message that you had either. But I think that's also part of Herndon's identity regardless. So it's a boutique situation. It's class, act, and I haven't even been there yet. But I would encourage you to just allow Chris a due process in a fair way. And I think that's really what we're just looking for, is fairness in the situation and maybe not as complicated. Thank you very much for your time this evening. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Who else would like to come forward? Is there anyone else who would like to come forward and speak on any item? No? Anyone? Okay, thank you very much. Could I ask for some clarification from the town attorney? I know that there was a zoning violation issued, and this item will be not seen by the town council initially, but by the Board of Zoning Appeals. Is that correct?
That's correct. Any appeal goes to the Board of Zoning Appeals, and from there it goes to the circuit court, so it never sees the town council.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for bringing that up to us, though, because there is a role for the town council in looking at our code if there were a change that were to be made in the future on any of our codes. So now, thank you for helping us understand where you are and what's going on in your situation. Thank you, and thank you for clarifying that. Okay, that does bring us to our public hearings. The first one is Ordinance 18035 to authorize the encroachment of the front stoops of several addresses on Monroe Street into the Monroe Street public access easement. All of these are part of the Junction Square townhomes on Monroe Street. I will open the public hearing. This item was continued from the council's December 11th public hearing to allow for proper notification of property owners. What happened was in the time when this was originated, some of the properties were sold and have new owners, so we want to make sure we let the owners, the current owners, know what we were looking at. So I see John Irish, but it says Lisa Yates, so do I start with you, Madam Town Attorney?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Actually, we've had some facts transpire since we were at work session last Tuesday night. The representatives for Junction Square and Tradition Homes have requested to make some amendments to the ordinance, and also have brought forward a location issue regarding one of the stoops, which our engineers have to evaluate. So there is a joint request that this be continued to the next set of meetings at the end of the month. Frankly, at the point at which these issues were brought forward, I did not feel comfortable. Council had not had a work session with these requested changes, and we have not had engineers to look at.
Did that just happen yesterday or today?
This morning.
Oh, this morning. Oh, that is recent. Okay. So both the staff and the applicant is suggesting that we consider continuing
that
this.
That is wisest, yes.
Okay. Thank you for that update. Mr. Irish, do you have more?
I concur.
And we can go ahead and do a presentation, or did you want to defer the presentation till the item is continued to the next meeting?
Council? Well, we'll still open the public hearing, but do we want to defer the staff report since it seems that we'll have
it's
additional
going to be
information?
different.
Do you have concurrence with council?
Unless someone's here to hear it.
Well, no, we'll still have public comment. I'm just talking about the staff report. So, okay, you're off the hook, Mr. Irish. Okay, so are there any questions of council before we open it up to the public? Okay, well, this is a public hearing, so if there is anyone who came this evening to speak on this item, we are certainly here to listen. Is there anyone that would like to come forward? You have up to 3 minutes, Mr. Muntz.
Madam
Yes,
Mayor, Town Council, Steve Munt, 814 Locust Street. This is one more example that I just want to add into. I don't know that the town is set up to do the inspections that you all are out doing. And the reason I say that is this is one example with Junction Square we just put in. You look at the cornice that fell off of the building over on Eldon Street. You look at the Dahl property homes right now that there's about to be a class action suit on because Fairfax doesn't inspect this, the town does. And so if we don't have the wherewithal, we need to go back and relook that because I think we're starting to see a series of events that when you go back and look at it, there was a mistake made during the inspections. And that's how we got to this. So thank you very much, and I'm done.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that is here to speak on this item this evening? You have up to 3 minutes. No? Okay. Thank you very much. So the staff and applicant are suggesting that we continue this to the date certain, the public hearing on January 29th. Is there a motion to continue?
Madam Mayor, sorry. Sorry. I was going to make a motion to continue ordinance 18-0-35.
So was that McKenna or Olam that got?
Me, I guess. Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. Motion to continue made by Mr. McKinnon, seconded by the Vice Mayor.
And could we be clear on the date certain?
A date certain of January 29th. Was that the intent
Yes.
of the motion maker? Okay. Discussion on the motion. Anyone? Ms. Friedrichs.
It makes sense to change it because if we do any presentation or information tonight, it won't be accurate because we don't know the full details. Thanks.
Yep. Other comments? No? Madam Vice Mayor, did you have a comment? No. Nope. Okay. All right. So we have a motion to continue made by Mr. McKenna, seconded by the Vice Mayor. All those in favor say aye. 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 And those opposed? Okay. So that motion carries, and we'll talk about that. You won't beat her on the adjournment, though. Don't worry. So the next public hearing is Resolution 19G03. To consider a special exception number 1805 to permit a home-based daycare with a maximum of 12 children at 537 Merlin's Lane. And the applicant is here. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. We did receive some comments on this application. They've been entered into the record, and our zoning administrator, Dave Stromberg, is here for the staff report.
Good evening, Mayor Merkel and members of council. As you mentioned, this is special exception 18-05 for a home daycare at 537 Merlin's Lane. So I'm quickly going to go through special exception reviews in general. So the ordinance lists 3 ways of how a use is classified in the ordinance. It's either by right, by a special exception use, or it's an unpermitted use. So by right is administrative review. It meets all of the standards, and staff is just required to approve it. A special exception use is generally compatible in a certain zoning district, but it requires a little bit extra level of review, and it allows the town to put conditions on it on a case-by-case basis. And then an unpermitted use is just not permitted. So for this specific case, a daycare, I'm going to go through how a daycare is regulated in this zoning district, which is PDR, Planned Development Residential District. By right, you can have up to 7 children in a home-based daycare. You can get special exceptions in this district for like a religious facility that has a daycare use with it. But what we see most often, and what this application is for, is to increase from 7 children to 12 children in a home-based daycare. And then there's no way you could have more than 12 children in a home-based daycare. So this property is outlined in red, as you can see on the map. The property and the neighborhood is zoned PDR and consists of single-family residences. It is to the west and south is zoned R10, single-family residence district, and it contains additional single-family residences as well as the Herndon Elementary School. So the proposed daycare is in an existing single-family house. It's approximately 2,400 square feet, and you can see its location on Merlin's Lane, again indicated by the red box. And Merlin's Lane is a semicircular loop that connects to Worcester Street in 2 different locations, and Hertford Street also connects from Merlin's Lane out to Worcester Street. The only other streets in this subdivision are some cul-de-sac streets. It doesn't connect to any other subdivisions. The property has already been approved for a home daycare of up to 7 children, and there have been no complaints to date at this address. And the applicant operates with a staggered arrival and departure time for her clients. So if this special exception were to be approved, at the most you would be seeing an additional 5 trips in the morning hours, which would be spread between 7:30 a.m. and 9 a.m., and then an additional up to 5 trips in the evening hours, but that would be between 12:30 p.m. and 5 p.m. So the property has a fenced-in rear yard area, and there's about 6,500 square feet back there. That's going to be used for the outdoor play area, which does exceed the amount that's required by the ordinance. And there's a single aisle driveway for the property, and it could accommodate up to a maximum of 2 cars at one time. Staff is recommending a condition that all the loading and unloading of the children occur on the driveway and not from the street side. Staff feels that this application is consistent with the comprehensive plan, will not have any adverse impacts on the neighborhood, and we are recommending approval with the staff conditions. This was heard at the November 19th Planning Commission work session and the December 3rd public hearing for Planning Commission, and they recommended that the council approve this application as well. I'm available for any questions, and the applicant's here as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions for staff? Ms. Friedrichs.
So I read the comment from the citizen who wrote in. I assume you've read it as well.
Yes, that's correct.
And my question is it accurate that because he seems to feel that it's dangerous to have, I guess what I'm asking is his letter before did he make his questions before you made your suggestions? I'm sorry, I'm having trouble getting this out. You had a list of suggestions that the approval depends upon. Was his question taken care of by those staff conditions?
Yeah, we believe the conditions would address any of the concerns that the neighbor had written in.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Other questions for staff? Anyone? Okay. Thank you. So this is a public hearing, and the applicant is here. If you would like to come forward and speak, you may. You certainly don't have to, but if there's anything you'd like to share with us, we'd love to hear from you.
Hello, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm a teacher. I'm a Montessori trained teacher, and I've been teaching since last 29 years. And my husband is visually impaired. I used to work in a Montessori school. We moved to Herndon because I've worked in a Montessori school. But this is my livelihood, my bread and butter. And my husband is visually impaired, but he's not completely disabled. My working at home helps that. And so if this passes through, it'll be a great help to me. And that's what I'm looking forward to. And it's not just a typical daycare. Because I'm a Montessori teacher, I teach them in the Montessori way, in which the children who come to me, they have a main goal is peace and diversity, and they just don't learn the ABCs, they also learn how to be good citizens. And when they go on to public school settings, they need less remediation because of the kind of educational curriculum that I provide. And I am very aware of what to do and what not to do, and how not to cause any inconvenience. I have parents who are, I have children who are siblings currently. So I have 6 children and only 4 parents, and they don't all come at the same time. And irrespective of I would say it's rather ludicrous, to imagine that everybody will be swarming at the same time. And there are other schools and daycare centers, and they have the same kind of a thing that in which they come and they at staggered dismissals, and it's not like a swarm of people descending on any place. So I don't know what the gentleman is talking about, but I am abiding by the rules and following everything. And I've talked to my neighbors, my immediate neighbors, left and right and in front, and I have the community where I am, the homeowners association also supports me. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the applicant from council? No? Okay. Thank you for coming forward. This is a public hearing, so we will open it up to the floor. Is there anyone that would like to come forward and speak on this item? State your name and address for the record. Thank you, sir.
Hi, good evening again. Jeff Smith, 1001 Trinity Gate. So I'm here tonight on my birthday, no less, to speak in full support of Miss Matra and her in-home daycare. It is my belief that in-home daycare provides an excellent early childhood care while also generally being less expensive than commercial daycare centers with more personalized service. This is important specifically for our community, as just within the 21 houses facing Queens Road, the side that's on the other corner for me, we've got 5 children on the age of 4, and all the families are dual-income households. As a side note, did you guys put anything in the water? Because we had 3 kids born within 2 months of each other. I know that there's been some concern about the safety, specifically with the single width driveway. I gotta say, I think that's kind of bunk. So my kids are both in a daycare in the exact same neighborhood on a busier street, and it has actually never been an issue one bit. So I do want to say, I'm fully in support of her, but the bigger thing I want to say is, so if Herndon is going to continue to be the fantastic town that it is, where families young and old can live, work, and play, I urge the council to revisit the existing regulations on home daycares. When I was contacted last week, I was astonished that the letter that I wrote for the HOA back in September is still ongoing. My original thought was that someone's dragging their feet on this, slowing it down for no good reason. Then I came across the application itself. On the application, it notes that there are 13 steps, which nominally will take 14 weeks. That's more than 3 months. All while the applicant is effectively losing whatever income that she possibly could have gotten from that. So after noticing the waiting period, I was interested to see The rate at which special exceptions for daycares in the town of Herndon were rejected by either the Planning Commission or the Town Council. I couldn't find one. I couldn't find a single example where there was even a nay vote on one. Sure, many of them have conditions, such as the one placed on this one, drop-off times, operating times, but no overall objections. Because of this, it is my hope that the regulation could be rewritten to allow for a speedier process to receive a special exception for these daycares, and that Ms. Matra can be one of the last applicants that'll have to wait for more than 3 months for this. If the waiting period could be just cut in half, that would be roughly $8,750 at a low price of $250 per kid. I know I definitely could use that, and I know everyone that I know could use that. Finally, I do have to say I am the Hunters Creek Vice President and wrote the letter in support of her. And while the HOA is not officially allowed to say that we disagree, all of us on the board have said that we are fully in support of her. Thank you.
Thank you. Well timed. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward and speak on this item? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Charles Williams, 421 Queens Row Street. And for the record, I am the president of Hunters Creek Homes, but I am here as a father of 2 kids that are in a home daycare and am not doing anything for the HOA tonight. So I got over that disclosure part. Like I said, I have a 7-month-old and a 3-year-old that have been going to daycare. Everybody's kids are smart. I think mine are a little bit smarter than everybody else's, and I attribute that to our daycare. They refer to her as mom. She's an extension of our family. It's the greatest thing. To get a license in the Commonwealth of Virginia, because we're talking about state licensed daycares, not county licensed daycares. It's a hard process. You got to go through so many hoops with the Commonwealth of Virginia. You have to get a USDA certification for your meals. I'm not sure what the process is, but there's a USDA certification involved. There's a town business license. There's so many different things you have to go through. And these people are doing the right thing. They're doing the right thing to run a business, and then they hit a 14-week process. I can only imagine that this 14-week process is not what our planning commission wants to do in this town. That we have so much going on, so much future for the town of Herndon to deal with a 14-week process for a daycare license. Due diligence has got to be done, but like Jeff said, everybody has been approved. And the single driveway thing, my daycare is on a single driveway that is a street that abruptly ends. There's not even a cul-de-sac to turn around. I would encourage the town not even to put any restriction on that, because you don't know what's going to happen with cars. And the last thing you want to do is create a traffic jam. We got mothers and fathers of kids out there that they're going to do the right thing. They're not going to unload their kids in a busy street. Just let traffic flow the way it can flow. And if the driveway is backed up and they want to unload on the curb, let them do it. I've had that happen several times with my son, and it's not been a problem. My daycare has a restriction that there's no loading and unloading on opposite sides of the street. So when Washington Gas was digging up the street, that posed a problem. So let's not put restrictions in there. And I really think, talking to the daycare owner of my daycare, the town should consider doing a task force to look at this. Let's put a group together, bring the daycare owners together. They've got a niche business. Let's talk to them, see what they recommend, and see if we can come up with a better way of getting rid of this 14-day process. So I encourage the town to not only approve this without any exceptions, but also let's look at a task force to try to streamline the process, make this go a little bit quicker, and look at the talent that we have of our daycare owners in the community. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward and speak on this item? Okay. Thank you. Seeing that, I will close the public hearing and move to council for discussion and action. Madam Vice Mayor.
Madam Mayor, I move approval of Resolution 19G-03.
Second. Thank you. We have a motion to approve made by the Vice Mayor, seconded by Ms. Friedrichs. Discussion on the motion.
Yes. As I said in the work session, my children are grown, but when I moved to Herndon, they were young. One of them arrived a few years later, and that is one of the worst things that you can have, is looking for a good, safe, reputable, quality daycare. So I applaud you for the work that you do. And over the years I've served on council, I think we've only had a couple of times when we had a lot of people come out opposed. That was right after we got on. But it's definitely something that's needed. And children are our most precious resource, and the neighborhoods we live in are our homes and our castle. So there may be a bit of a process to get this done, but compared to some of the things that were happening years ago, I think we are moving it right along. And I look forward to you having a very successful time with your children. And one of these days, maybe one of my grandchildren will be there. But I think you're offering a great resource for our community. But we do want to make sure.
I put my heart and soul into it, and I'm really, this is what I know, and this is what I offer.
Thank you.
Obviously, because I'm still in touch with the lady that took care of my 34-year-old when he was a baby. She and I are still in touch with one another.
I have children that I've looked after. They are 24 years old, and they have become my, like, I am their second mom to them,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Friedrichs.
I support this. I think the Montessori method is probably one of the best methods out there from what I've been hearing. And I appreciate you two coming to tell us about the process. And we don't up here tend to get into the nitty gritty, and it's nice to hear, somebody's experience from going through it. It's important for us to make sure that we've dotted every I and crossed every T, but I do support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McKenna, followed by Mr. DeCall.
As a product of preschool, I know what it gave an advantage to me, just the social interaction with different people and understanding how to interact with people. These are the kinds of things that are needed in a town, especially when you have parents that, that with commercial venues, not just the cost, but they do have set hours. And sometimes I know we have other daycares that have other exceptions, but these are the kinds of things that we need, and families do need this. And I'm also really excited with the public comment, not just for this, but for tonight. It was fantastic. I mean, I'm feeling good about everything right now, especially, and this is just the catalyst of it. I want you to know that I'm 100% behind this, but thank you for this, and good luck with everything.
Thank you. Mr. DeCall.
I have 2 kids, and they're both under 3. And me and my wife also thought about doing a daycare, and I was not completely into it, but she thought, like, we have 2 kids, and taking care of them. Taking care of them, and on top of that, if we have another 3-4 kids, that would be amazing. She actually persuaded me, and then we went to Fairfax County and saw all the process and everything, and I was already, no, it's too hard. It's too hard. So. And the 2 kids are already giving us hard time, and we cannot have more, right? So having said that, it requires a big heart and compassion to carry out this job, and we can already see the passion, the way you speak and the way you are presenting yourself. And I think it's a win-win situation also. The parents, whose kids you are taking care of, you are freeing up their time so they can go and, work and make the difference and bring bread and butter. And by doing that, you're doing yours. On top of that, you're actually showing a path to many other mothers who are actually taking care of their kids, and this could be a one way you can not only take care of your kids, but maybe somebody else's, and by doing that, you can actually make a living. So, you are actually encouraging others, and I wish you all the best, and I can see a passion, and I hope this business turns out really good to you, and you can change and help many more parents. So thank you. Thank you for your work.
Yep. Yes, sir.
We supported this in the work session. I hear we're still supporting it, so let's call the question.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I concur. I mean, the home daycare also offer a often more affordable option for families, which is just a perk on top of Maria Montessori. Was one of my early childhood teacher heroes. So thank you, and I think Mr. Del Aguila said it. I think we know where we're headed. So with that, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed, that motion carries unanimously, and that brings us to the consent agenda.
Madam Mayor, I move approval of the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed, that motion carries, and that concludes our agenda this evening.
Madam Mayor, I move that we adjourn, seeing no other business on
She
the
can't
agenda.
unplug her iPad. So,
Second.
okay. Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. And those opposed, and we stand adjourned at, I believe, 8:54 p.m. Thank you, guys.